Friday, everybody. We are coming to you live from the car. I picked the boys up from school for a little bit, and we're going to do happy hour in the car today, so then by the time we get home, we can just focus on being home and having fun. I'm trying to do this on Instagram at the same time, and it's going very badly. Oh, hold on. Sorry, bear with me 1 second here. We want to do live. Okay, ooh, come on. Let's not do that. So, okay, hey, Instagram, there we are. So today, you guys remember my cheat sheet? Today we're going to be, let me start over. Hi, I'm Dr. Bridget Young from babyformulaexpert.com, coming to you live with the boys to talk about bottle feeding tips that you've probably never heard for happy hour today. So I've got my little cheat sheet, and we're going to try to keep this short because obviously there's limited attention span here, but we've got the air conditioning going. So, bottle feeding tips. These are tips for feeding your baby a bottle of anything, a bottle of breast milk, a bottle of formula, and tips you've never heard, because I think these are very important tips to me, but they're not the traditional things that you hear, and these are particularly going to be relevant to parents who are having a hard time with feeding. So if feedings are something you dread, this is for you. Oh, there's plenty of room, guys. So how I come about these tips when I work with families is that we try to emulate breastfeeding as much as possible. This is not to make you feel bad if you are not nursing at the breast, but it's just to try to help replicate the evolutionary environment that a mammalian baby is born expecting. And that's drinking with a lot of warmth and something nice and cushy like a breast all up in their face. We find that really comforting because that's how our species has basically been designed. So it's really important to me to try to keep babies as comfortable as possible while they're feeding for a couple of reasons that are all related. The big one is what you've all experienced, that babies often poo and definitely pee at the same time as they're eating. They are eating so much relative to their body size, and you guys know it moves through their bodies pretty quickly. So careful, baby. It's super common for a baby while they're nursing or having a bottle to then have a bowel movement at the same time, or like literally clearing up space as a new meal comes in. Thanks, baby. So if your baby is struggling with some digestive issues, for example, if they're having constipation or they're having a lot of gas, it's important that they remain calm during their feeding so that they can let that out. I mean, adults too, you're going to have a really hard time passing gas or having a bowel movement if you're scrunched up and you're punching your butt cheeks together. So having a relaxed rectum and anus for the baby is going to allow them to move. You like that, honey? That's nice. Allow them to be able to move that meal through at the pace that it's supposed to. So basically avoid blockages. A more scientific way to say this is I like to try to help get babies in a parasympathetic state for their meal. That's a fancy way of saying, so you've got a couple different states, either like parts of the nervous system. The sympathetic, oh, let's leave that on because it's hot. The sympathetic state is your flight or flight. Hold on 1 second. Honey, we need to leave it on because it's pretty hot in here. Thank you very much. That's your sympathetic is your fight or flight. You guys know what that is. Parasympathetic you can think about as rest and digest. If you can get into a parasympathetic state, your heart rate slows down, you're able to digest more easily. Actually, more digestive enzymes are released into the intestine, and you have some muscle relaxing, like I said, especially at the lower end of the intestine where muscles need to relax to let waste excrete. Translation, poo and toots, which is what your life is consumed with if you have a new baby. Do you like that? I like that too. So these are things that you can do to help get your baby into a parasympathetic state for eating. Again, so you can see this is completely irrelevant of what they're feeding them, but it's hopefully going to help feedings go better. 1, you need to relax. I know this sounds ooey gooey, but it's a really big deal. Babies are so sensitive to the emotions of their caregivers, especially their mothers, and especially if you are providing any breast milk, because you got that smell going on. They're very in tune. They were just inside of you. They were literally part of you, and now they're still kind of part of you. So I see this often where if you've had a bad of round feedings, maybe you're dealing with reflux, and so you start to approach feedings with this dread, and the baby can sense that. So if you go to the cottage, please turn it up. Can you turn it to the number 3? Yeah. Look for the number 3. So if you go into a feed like, oh, I hope she takes this, or, thank you so much, Angel. Or, you know, they not take like, oh, honey, please eat something. You can like, I'm giving myself anxiety talking about this. The baby can sense that. And that's a feedback to them. And, you know, if they start clenching, that it just exacerbates the cycle of moving away from the parasympathetic state. So you do you before you go in. If you need to take a couple deep breaths, you calm your zen, like nothing's going to upset my calm during this feed. Like no amount of screaming can snap me out of this zen. That will help. So keep yourself in a relaxed state will help keep your baby in a relaxed state. Honey, please leave it on. That's perfect. The other big thing is be sure your baby is warm. Often, Vaughn, listen, if you cannot obey, honey, you'll have to go in the back seat. Oh, well, otherwise it's just too hot. Make sure your baby is warm. This is especially relevant for newborn babies, you know, in those first 30 days. So remember, when they're cooking inside of you, they're literally cooking. 98 degrees is their room temperature. So they come out, and even like a nice temperate 75 degrees is okay. Oh, do not take toys from others. That's chilly. 75 degrees is chilly. So remember, your baby should always be more layered than you are. I see newborn babies all the time, and of course I never say anything, but I'm like, oh, put a blanket on that baby. Right here, honey. So, and especially this will help during a feed. So it not only does it make them comfortable, but it's like one less thing their body has to do. You know, newborn babies, they got to breathe on their own. They got to beat their own heart. They got to keep their body regulated. So removing one thing on their checklist, it will be nice for feedings. So be sure they're nice and warm. You know, you can have a special blanket you use just for feeding time if they need a hat. Just, you know, just be aware of the body, their temperature and the room temperature before you start a feed. The next tip is very related to that. Try skin to skin. Even if you have never breastfed, maybe you adopted, maybe you're a daddy, and so you've never actually nursed your baby, skin to skin is still amazing. One, it's that immediate warmth, so they are able to use your body warmth to regulate themselves. Two, they feel your heartbeat close to them. That's very comforting to a baby because they're used to fefeeling mom's heartbeat when they were in utero. And also it's just a nice repetitive rhythm. Babies love that. And then they get to smell you. There's so many benefits that it provides in general, but for feeding particularly, it can help. Uh-oh, Vaughn. What was that? Oh, I'll take that, please. Oh, boy. So try doing little skin to skin. It's actually, I know, a little awkward if you're doing a bottle, so you can play around with wrapping the baby, wrapping a blanket around the baby while you're feeding them. Try feeding them maybe in a carrier where they're upright and you know, it's kind of a little awkward to tip of the bottle. There's a lot of different ways. So experiment with it and see if that's something your baby really enjoys. I often find that really helps babies who are having a hard sort of emotion time with feeding be able to take higher volumes if that's something that you're aiming for. Next, hum to your baby. This is such a simple, easy thing. You know, parents have been singing to their babies since the dawn of humanity. So you can absolutely sing to your baby, but humming in particular, I think, is very soothing for babies when they're coming into a feed because it's your voice, but it's, especially if they're up against you. You know, humming is very vibration, makes a very nice vibration. And it's going to sound to them like your voice sounded to them in the womb, which is muffled. So all of those things can be very calming to the baby, especially the vibration if they're up against you and they can feel your hum in your chest. So those all really help. The other thing is pick a feeding song or a tune so that you always hum the same thing during the feed. So this starts to make routine. And eventually you can start humming this before you feed, and then the baby will start knowing like, okay, feeding's coming. So if you start getting that panicked cry like, oh, I'm so hungry, then you can hum their feeding song, and sometimes that'll help calm them down like, okay, it's coming, they're on it. So humming is an excellent tip to start incorporating into your feeding routine. And lastly, most parents naturally do this. I think as humans we naturally do this. You're thirsty, sweetheart? You know what? I'm almost done, and we can go home and get a drink. Is to incorporate loving, gentle touches during feeding. So this also takes a little bit of experimenting too to figure out exactly what baby likes. You are a monkey. But examples would be some babies love to have their little feet rubbed while you're feeding them, which again, you need an extra hand. Some babies hate having their feet rubbed. So experiment. Sure, honey. Her phone's literally hanging upside down from the handlebar. One of my kids loved to have his cheek stroked when he was having a bottle, and he would kind of smile, and he just loved it so much. Other little things, kissing them on the forehead. He loved to have his belly rubbed while he was eating, which is just kind of fun to do anyway. So experiment with, so that's just gentle, loving touches, reminding them like, I'm here, we're doing this together. This is something fun that we're doing, eating. That's all we do is eat and poop when you're a baby. So those are things that can also really help calm the baby. And again, the goal is to get them into this parasympathetic state so that regardless of what is in the bottle, it's able to be digested to the baby's best capacity, which would be, the least digestive upset. So those are my tips for bottle feeding that, again, you probably haven't heard before because not many people talk about this, but I personally just think it's so important, especially in that newborn phase when they're adjusting to life. Hi, what are you doing? Outside the womb. And that can be a really hard transition. So just in summary, I'll go over them really briefly and then we gotta get out of here. 1, focus on relaxing yourself before you go into a feed. This is particularly relevant if you guys have had a bad history of feedings not going well. So feedings start to be associated with stress for the parents. These are so sensitive to your stress level. So being very mindful of trying to be calm during the whole course of the feed. Oh, thanks, sweetheart. Being sure your baby is warm, enough said. Trying skin to skin with your baby, even if you're not the biological mother, it can still provide a lot of benefits, including that extra warmth for them. Lastly, humming to your baby, providing that natural vibration from your humming, a routine of a tune, and also I think the biggest thing is it's reminiscent of the sound of your voice when they were in utero, which is usually a calming memory for them. And lastly, soothing touches. So playing around with what they like best, but gentle rubbing on the cheek or on their forehead. Some babies like their little bald scalp rubbed, rubbing their belly, rubbing their back, once you find their favorite feeding position, just incorporating additional gentle soothing touch for them while they're drinking can really make feeding more calming. So I hope that really helps. We're coming to a holiday weekend. I'm so jealous to spend time with the boys. So I'm not sure if we'll be around next Friday. We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful week. I hope this is helpful. If this helps you with feeding your baby, drop me a note and let me know. I'd love to hear. And we got to get out of here. So I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a wonderful week. Thanks, everybody. Bye. I'm trying to end it. Ooh, on the dial. There's one. Oh, and I'm still here, guys. Hold on.